Hello, I'm Jim Rich. I'm the chaplain at Springhouse Estates, and I'm glad to be able to share this devotional with you today. And I want to start with a question. How many times have you heard a story where everyone thought that the issue was going to resolve one way, and when everything shook out, it actually went a different way? I'm sure we've all experienced things like that. I was reminded of an actual historical event that went that way, and that was the First Battle of Manassas. That was the opening battle of the Civil War, which took place in July of 1861. Union troops marched out of the capital city of Washington, D.C. with tremendous bravado, past cheering crowds, and they were confident of a quick and decisive victory. But when the shooting started and they met the Confederate Army just outside of Washington, D.C., the Union Army didn't do so well. Not only did they not stand fast, but they actually cut and run and ran for their lives in a panicked retreat. Hardly a model of steadfast adversity in life. But we can certainly learn from their mistakes, and we can also learn how we can handle people and situations in our lives that make us want to cut and run and may be involved in situations where we feel like we can't hold on. And I found tremendous help myself from David in Psalm 57. The Lord engineered circumstances for him that helped him to see that the Lord is really his shelter and protection. So I'd encourage you, if you have a Bible, to turn to Psalm 57. And actually the title itself gives us some important information about how we should understand what's going on in this particular psalm. The title says, "For the choir director, a tashheth of David, a miktam, when he fled from Saul in the cave." Now, we're not going to worry about the Hebrew terms, but we're interested in that phrase, when he fled from Saul in the cave. That takes us back to the actual historical event, which is recorded for us in 1 Samuel 24. And no doubt you remember that David and his men were on the run from Saul and were hiding in a cave when, unbeknownst to Saul, Saul and his men wandered into the front of the same cave. So David and his men had to hunker down. And no doubt this was a tremendously difficult situation for David. Just based on the images that he uses in this psalm, we can tell that he was under a tremendous amount of duress. And it seems like he wasn't sure that he was going to make it out of there. It looked like his situation was going to go one way, but we know from the historical narrative in 1 Samuel 24 that it actually went the other way. And David wrote a psalm as a result of this. And so David, with the imagery that he uses, we know that he knew that he was clearly up against a difficult adversary in a very tight situation. And the first verse in Psalm 57 gives us a wonderful image that David uses. Verse 1 says, "Be gracious to me, O God, be gracious to me, for my soul takes refuge in you, and in the shadow of your wings I will take refuge until destruction passes by." What a great image that is, of being in the shadow of God's wings. I'm not a farmer, so I don't interact with a lot of livestock or flocks, but I have seen little goslings out and about in the springtime around our place in southeastern Pennsylvania. And those little goslings, those little furry things, they just weigh a few ounces, and they turn into little tumbleweeds in a stiff breeze. But I've seen a mother goose take her wings and pull her little goslings in and give them protection. And so that's a great image that David conveys to us about our shelter when the Lord takes us under his wings as an image and supports us. And what David is reminding us is that we're not supported by just anyone. We're supported and protected by the best. And God is sheltering us because he cares for us. And so whatever circumstances in life we feel like are brewing up as a storm and might blow us away at any minute, the application is that God is for us, right? Whether we're experiencing an illness or a loved one is sick, or perhaps we're a victim of someone's untrammeled gossip, perhaps family members are giving us a hard time, or maybe a coworker is being hostile towards us, or perhaps a neighbor. David's message to us in this psalm about God as our shelter is an important thing to remind us that when the storms of life buffet us, God has got us. So I hope you are able to find your shelter in him in whatever providential storms blow into your lives this week. Amen.